Welcome to Not Nicole. Trying that out. My name is Nicole, and this is a vlog where I will talk about my knitting and other making. Today is Tuesday, March 17th. Happy St. Patrick's Day. I realize I'm not wearing green, but you know what? I'm in a green room. I'll call it good. Well, I love green. It is a wonderful 21.4 degrees here in Iowa, the last time I checked the temperature. So I decided to wear my super comfy. This is the Professor pullover. I know I talked about it on the last vlog and had just finished it and was hoping for some colder weather so that I could enjoy it. So today I am drinking my Honeybush Blueberry Pancake. It is a tea that I picked up for the first time in Nashville, Tennessee, when I was there last year for Nash Yarn Fest. So in 2025, they had that in March, so just about a year ago. And for this year, it is actually next month, so about 4 weeks from now. And the mug says it's a great day for a ferret heist. So we have that on both sides. It makes me smile. It's from a book that I've read and listened to multiple times. The second book of the Hidden Legacy series by Ilona Andrews. So if you like some urban fantasy romance, they are great. They actually have a book coming out at the end of this month, which will be a little different. Tor has an 8 or 9 chapter excerpt for those of us in the US, available on Amazon or wherever you can get ebooks. You can get a sample. It's like 8 or 9 chapters. It is called This Kingdom Will Not Kill Me. I wasn't sure about it. It's completely different from anything else that they've written, but those 8-9 chapters, I mean, I devoured them. So blueberry pancake tea, circling back to that, so the International Tea and Coffee Co. in Nashville, Tennessee. I also found it locally at Beans, Teas, and Other Things in Marion, Iowa. So I'm sure if you look for that, you'll find it lots of different places. And favorite author currently who's still writing. I have other authors I really like, but they don't write anymore. So Ilona Andrews. Okay. And so first thing, finished items. I finished my diamond debut cowl. Okay, finished knitting today. I still have to weave in the ends, as you can see those poking out. I also got some chocolate on it. That's what those markers are for, so I can make sure to treat that. And so this is a test knit for Mary W. Martin, and is her woven knitting. This is a single pass woven knitting. It was a lot of fun. And I mean, look at that. It was knit with 2 skeins of fingering weight yarn, but it is so squishy, just because you have the cable crossing over the marl stitches, and the marl stitches are, the fingering held together, and then the cables are just always thick and cushy. So lovely. I've been debating if I want to test knit the hat. I'm not sure, honestly, if I'd wear it. But then again, it would wear perfectly with the cowl, which is, here, I'll put it on real quick. I love a good tight cowl, right? I mean, think about it, wearing it with a coat when it's cold and pull it up over your face. Keep it nice and warm. So on the fence. If I do the hat, I'd have to have it finished by the end of this month. And well, it's the 17th. So I don't know. The yarns for this were Scrumptious HT by Marinated Yarns. This was a kit that was put together for Knit Stars Season 7. Cosmic Dust and Ion Storm. So I used about 55 grams of this one and 58 grams of this one, or that's what I have left. I will admit, I didn't weigh the skeins before I started, so I mean, this one could have just had an extra gram or two. But yeah, so still a decent amount left of both of these. I do not know when this one will come out. If I get that information, I will put it on the screen. And if that's undecided, then I won't. But yeah, it was a lot of fun to knit. I would say I would totally, if I had somebody in mind for one, I would totally make it again as a gift because it is so squishy and soft. But I would definitely give myself more time, maybe do like 2 rows a day because it's 240 stitches. And sometimes you are touching every single stitch and moving every single stitch. Right? Cables are just, they're very focused and, but they're easy cables. It's just a front cross or back cross, never more than 4 stitches. So I would totally say a beginner could do it, if they were adventurous. Starting to talk about works in progress. I know last episode I talked about ochre moss and I ended up ripping out that sleeve. I changed the order of the colors and then I just completely frogged it. I really had no interest in doing an entire sweater in 1x1 stranded knitting. There's a lot of things I'll do, but like 1x1, every other row or every other stitch a different color. I decided I didn't want to do that. And I think it would have been too warm. And so then I ripped that out and I cast on Puddles and Piers by Alicia Plummer. And I got about 20 rows into it and I decided my problem is I didn't like that green. There we go. I usually say green is my favorite color, but apparently not olive. Which makes sense, right? Olive gets kind of to a muddy green. And if I had to say the color I disliked the most would be brown. So a greeny brown nixes that for me. So I am going to attempt to sell that on a Discord server. See if anyone is interested. And if not, then my sister said she would take it. The next thing I talked about, and I do have a skein wound up, was the Patchwork Pullover by Perfectly Knotted. And that one I did start swatching for, and her gauge is a US 7, and I was under gauge on the US 7, but I was over gauge on a US 8. I could attempt it on metal needles. I know that sometimes that can change your gauge. I don't love metal needles. I may still try that. If not, I will just go for smaller gauge and adapt the pattern. So normally I would do like a size medium. So I might, if I'm smaller than expected, I might do a size large, but if my gauge is off, it'll, shrink that. We'll see once I make a decision. I stopped swatching because I wanted to finish the cowl, and there are some other things that I need to spend some time on. So in my spare time, I started working on a shawl. I originally cast this on October 12th, 2025. So I had surgery on my shoulder to remove scar tissue at the end of 2025. And so this is what I worked on while I was in a sling. Yes, I knit while I was in a sling. I only really had to immobilize my arm, right? Anyway. All right, I have to take it all apart. I have my little... all the things. All right, so this is my flock party shawl. Currently in progress. So it will be an asymmetrical triangle, and it's supposed to take 3 skeins of yarn. So it will be huge, which is what I wanted. I'm at the point in time where I'm doing increases and decreases. So it is moving. You can see here, right, their corner. And so my stitch count is staying the same, but the center, this decrease line, is moving towards that corner. So this is the right side. So that decrease line is moving from the middle to this edge. My stitch markers on here. First, we have a little korok. So that is the little characters from Zelda. So they have different shapes. And then I bought this from Knit Boop. I don't know if she still has them. It was something her and her husband did together. So he makes little miniatures, and I just love these little things. And then my center marker that's moving with me is a little sugar skull that I picked up at Simply Sock Yarn in Fort Wayne, Indiana. My sister lives just north of Fort Wayne, so I stop in there once every other year or so when I'm visiting her. I mean, I don't go every time I visit her, but we'll usually find a reason to stop in and visit. They have odd, inconsistent hours. They're not always open, but always available on yarn. And I mean, they have masses and masses of sock yarn, all the main brands. All right, yarn that we're talking about. So this yarn is actually from Expression Fiber Arts. So quite a few years ago, they were doing every month they would sell a color, like their floral collection. So this is Oasis Camel Silk. So 50% camel, 50% silk. It's a light fingering, about 500 yards and 100 grams. The pink color here is called Azalea, and the gray is called Timeless Tulips. So as you look at that, there's little bits of pink in the gray. So I thought these matched really well. So this is garter, my mostly mindless knitting. So in the evening, if I've caught up on the other things that I want to get done in a day, this is what I'm picking up. As long as my shoulders aren't mad at me, where I need to, make sure I'm focused on my postures and pushing my shoulders down and back. So that is Azalea. So I have about half the skein left, and then this is Timeless Tulips. I am more than halfway through that shawl. I still have some. So I'm going to end up, I think, with a lot of this one left. And I think I might run out of the Azalea. All right, next work in progress are the socks. I know I was talking about those last time. I'm gonna have to count my stitches. Did they fall off? Nope. All right, there we go. So I do use Flexi Flips for the heel and the toe. Those are by Addie. But I use ChowGoo 9-inch circulars for the rest of it. So here is the first sock. I am working on the heel, standard heel flap and gusset. This one I cast on 80 stitches because the last one shrunk. So we are concerned about that. Stitch markers. I do the same thing that the Crazy Sock Lady does. And so she has a tutorial about why she does that. Essentially, when you're doing 85 rows before you start the heel, it's a lot easier to count by tens to make sure that I'm getting the consistent stitch count. So I go by rows instead of measuring. It's easier, and then I don't have to worry about finding a ruler, and so it takes up a lot less space. So that is sock 1. I did take it in with me. So on the 7th of March, my husband and I made a trip to Ames and saw Gary Allan. It's actually the second time we've seen Gary Allan. If you don't know who he is a country music star. He made it big in the 90s, covered a Vertical Horizon song. So I've actually seen Vertical Horizon in Waukee, which is south of Ames. And so I have that same song recorded live from both of them. Anyway, I love that fact. So I have a triangular bag from Black Pearl Magic that I picked up at Nash Yarn Fest last March. And it like a pyramid bag, 3-sided pyramid. So I'll have my phone and a little pouch, and this is the first time somebody asked to look in my pouch or asked what was in my pouch. And, essentially I had my cash, car keys, and lipstick in there. And, as soon as I offered to open it for him, he was not interested in it. Like, he didn't even look. I opened it. He didn't even look because, it's like, oh, well, she's nothing to hide because she opened it. But nobody else, because it's only like yay big. Nobody else has ever bothered to look at that before. But plain old stockinette, I just take that to the show. And so like between acts and things like that, then I have something to knit on. So sock 1, essentially my plan is I want to get this through the heel. So you'll notice I left this ball connected. I don't cut it because you want to know what I don't want to do? I don't want to add 2 more ends. So when I finish the heel and turn, the heel flap and then do the heel turn, instead of picking up on this side, or some of them have you like start in the middle, I we'll just start here, and I will pick up from here, work across, and then pick up down. And so my black yarn will end up, I'll have an end down here and an end at the top. But I will not have an end for my main yarn because I will just work up the side here and start on that side. So that is sock 1. And so the yarn is Biches and Bouches for this one. And then Yarn Experiments Sock Monkey. So I did get this from Charlotte Yarn, but I got it in April of 2021. My first time at Charlotte Yarn was in April 2019. So this trip was when we went to scout locations in North and South Carolina for our wedding, because I got married in April 22 in South Carolina. But so Charlotte Yarn, Yarn Experiments Monkey Sock. The color is, I took notes, but apparently Goblin's Heart. So it's pretty good black Goblin's Heart. So all the things. It's in a bag by Asian Arts Yarns. So the bag I actually got as part of a gnome kit. I have 2 of them. I did finish both of those gnomes. And then this bag, this is my take it with me as I go out and about. So that is a Miss Babs yarn. I did pick that up at Nash Yarn Fest. But I love how small it is. And this is sock number 2. So this is my active. Usually when I'm steeping tea, I walk on my treadmill. It helps me not oversteep my tea and get some movement in. So I'll have this there and then I will work on it as I walk for about 5 minutes. I can usually get about 1.5 rows done in 5 minutes. And because I don't work on the heel on the treadmill, I'll take that off and do that. So my hope is to get the heel of sock 1 done probably tomorrow. And I'll block that cowl either later tonight or tomorrow. Weave in the ends. But then once, so I'll do the gusset decreases on sock 1 and then I will focus on sock 2. My husband and I have a show that we're going to on April 11th. So we'll see how much sock I do between now and then. That's like 3 weeks. So that I can take that into the show with me. I have a feeling I will take a larger clear bag. So we'll just put all this back in the bag. Those are in progress. All right, to keep talking about knitting. So I mentioned that my husband and I went to see Gary Allen on March 7th. And before we made it to Ames, I had my husband stop in Iowa City, and it's called the Shepherd's Market, the Iowa Shepherd's Market. It happens typically, I think, that first weekend in March, and it happens at the Johnson County Fairgrounds. This was the 3rd year that I've been, and it was in Building C. So it's not a huge market, but I did stop and purchase some things. So I didn't have a bag, so Leading Men Fiber Arts asked if I was going to buy other things, and so they gave me a bigger bag. Isn't that nice of them? So that all the vendors could just put it into one bag. So we'll start with Leading Men Fiber Arts. And I saw this color, and I was like, oh my God, I need, 2 more. I thought I had one. The colorway is called All the Way to the Bank. Callback is Sport Weight. So this is a sport weight, and at Nash Yarn Fest, I had bought a single skein of sport weight yarn to make a mystery project from Kate Oates. So Katie Lynn is her little sheep avatar. So from Kate Oates. And I decided I wasn't going to knit that color work project. It would have been I was guessing a poncho, but it's not a poncho. It is a Rouen, I think is how that's spelled. So it's like a poncho, but it's open. So it's like open under your arms and open in the front. So it really just like drapes over you. I thought I was going to make it. I'm not. So I'm like, I'll get 2 more, and then that would be enough to make like, right? Because these are 328 yards, so a transitional wear. So I went and I pulled the yarn that I bought at Nash Yarn Fest, and that is this one. And the colorway is Blue Steel. And those are not the same. They are, you could forgive me for having not checked my stash, because I do have it all in Ravelry. I could have looked at what color I had. I looked at it and I thought it was the same, but they are not the same. But they are very, very dang similar. I bet I could just alternate it in and nobody would ever know, right? If I smack that between those two, I could just alternate, like helical knit something with the 3 of these, and that would just blend right in. Nobody would ever guess. Anyway, so I got those with the intention of making a top having 3 of them. So close enough. Then I stopped. Of course, I did my round about, right? Checking everything out. And I checked out Shelby Strings Yarn Co. They are located, I believe it's Altoona. I asked. It's either Altoona or Ankeny. I mean, one sits like right on top of each other. They're both suburbs of Des Moines. I think it's Altoona. And so they had yarn. I didn't, like I said, it wasn't a large market, so there weren't a ton of things, but I love these little ring markers. And here were tiny ones, which, sometimes I really want, little markers when I'm knitting socks. So those will be perfect. With the cute little progress keepers. So that was my second purchase. I will say they had some gorgeous colors in like DK weight, but really I was just looking for sock yarn, get a single one, because whenever I go somewhere that has multiple vendors, I like to get a skein of yarn to make socks for my husband. And it was super extra fine merino. You would not make socks out of that. Like I could see like if you're just going to wear them around the house and never put them in shoes, sure. But as soon as you put them in shoes with that kind of friction, it would felt so bad. So they had some pretty yarn, just not the right fiber type for me that day. The next one I stopped at, let's see, excuse my noise, was kNot Yarn Co. I picked that up because I'm going to be looking to get a second skein of yarn. She said she was going to go home and dye it up. They are located in Mankato, Minnesota. And that sticks for me because I have a cousin who lives in Mankato. So, it's easy to stick. So this one is Storm Cloud. And so that's the label that was on their card. So it's a tonal gray. And I was looking for a gray fingering weight yarn. This is a 75-25. So back in December, I did get a self-striping advent from Tia's Terrific Threads. The colors are absolutely awesome, but they're all only like 5 or 6. And as soon as I knew I was going to do that, I'm like, I'm going to knit a miter square blanket. So I watch Playful Knitter. So she is a music teacher and plays piano. She plays all her own music on hers. So she's worked with some dyers there in Denmark. She lives in Denmark. And put together a guide, which you can find on Ravelry, so I'll link that. So essentially a guide for a miter square blanket. It's free, where you use like a border color and then the self-striping minis. And I love the look of it. So I really want to do that with this yarn. So I'll need a total of 3. So I bought this one because she only had the one from kNot Yarn. And then I stopped at Dreams in Fiber. Had a different gray tonal. And now the way that it's going to be knit, I think I'll just mix them, right? I mean, they're pretty darn similar, so I'll just mix them. This one is also a 75-25, and the color name is Unicorn Farts. That's fun. Now, these guys are located in Pleasant Hill, Iowa. So that is just south of Des Moines. So you can see they do have an Etsy store. So I did get this one for my blanket. And then I found Wing Leader to make socks for Jeff. I think this will be awesome. So interesting, it's a different base. I just noticed that. It's an 80-20. So, which is fine for his socks. The yarn I'm using for the blanket is all 75-25. So that works. But I just love this, right? I've knit socks for him that have some blue and green. I mean, like this one has purple and green and red and blue. I think this will make great socks and will go with any of his work shirts that he has. All right. So that is acquisitions. Now I just need to take pictures and get it added to my stash at Ravelry. Haven't done that yet. I do have some things coming in the mail, so I'll have more new things for my next episode. I am thinking about every other week for these. Okay, so now we're just talking. That's all my show and tell. Talking about sewing, I am working on a bralette. Honestly, it's something that I had made, but I put the cups too far apart, so I'm ripping it out and need to sew them closer together, I don't know that I'll show that on this. But the bralette is the Geordie bralette by Emerald Erin Sews, and the Findings kit was also by Emerald Erin Sews. So she has both an Etsy shop and then her own storefront. She's based in Canada, but she's worked really hard that if your IP is coming from the US, she's only showing things that she can sell without a tariff. So she sells more stuff in her shop than she shows to US customers because it's a very small business. She just isn't equipped to handle the tariffs. And then along that vein, I also signed up for Top Class. It is taught by Brooksand Camper, and she has a blog that goes over custom-made wedding dresses, has a history in theater costume work, and so she teaches people how to make patterns based off their own measurements. So I've done skirt skills. It's a requirement to start with skirt skills. And I've actually made, so I have a base pattern cut out in cardstock for a basic straight, like a pencil skirt. More like a straight pencil skirt, like pencil skirts curve in a bit. This doesn't. But it's very easy, right? To make it a pencil skirt, to make it an A-line skirt. I've also then, I'll post photos of a skirt that I made based off of that I wore to the office, and then a fun A-line skirt that I made that is underlined with muslin. So I've done the skirts. I done Smarty Pants, so that's her pants class. I never finished that one. I have somewhere I made a mock-up pair of pants out of some old sheets. I'd ripped a hole in the sheet, so I just used the sheet. Otherwise you're throwing it away, so why not make a mock-up pair of pants? Eventually I think I'd like to go back through that. I think what I might do is the next time she offers it as an alumni, she offers a discounted rate to take it. But starting March 30th is Top Class, where I will learn how to make my own slopers for my upper body. And I have all kinds of fabrics to use. So between now and then, I need to make sure that my skirt skills block fits. And then because if you think about it, the skirt skill block goes to your natural waist and your tops will go to your hips. So you use some of those measurements from skirt skills to make your sloper for your upper body. So I have that coming up, paid for. But then I'll have the whole set. And since I know I have some great fabric that I bought in the fabric district in LA. It's 100% Italian wool, lovely, beautiful, thin, and I want to make trousers with it. And I want them to fit. So, and one of them I have enough fabric where I could make a skirt with a matching vest. So the sloper would let me have the pattern pieces to make a vest that fits, make an undershirt. I have some gorgeous silk that would be a beautiful shirt. have some cotton shirting. I'll start with cotton shirting just because silk in and of itself will be very difficult to work with. But I have some really luxurious fabric, and so I'm hoping this will jumpstart me into updating pieces in my wardrobe and things that I can make. But so we're starting with top class. I love, so it's skirt skills, smarty pants, and top class. Pretty clever on the naming. Coming up next. All right. So I was very excited. Last week, I made my 3rd loaf of multigrain bread, and I'm super happy with how it turned out. So I modified the recipe. I modified the recipe. I wanted to add whole wheat flour. So the recipe that I was following as written was 150 grams of spelt flour and 350 grams of bread flour. I modified that to be 150 grams of spelt flour, 150 grams of whole wheat flour, and 200 grams of bread flour. And let me just tell you, if you're getting into making bread, get a kitchen scale, because I don't use any measuring cups. I just use the scale. It just sets on the scale, and I pour it in until I get to the required weight and done. So I never get too much flour in there because my flour is packed or anything like that. It is nice and light because I'm doing it by weight instead of cups. I think that 500 grams would be slightly more than 4 cups in all. But like I said, I do it based on weight, so I don't know approximately what that is. I also used some different grains. Previously, I'd used a cereal mix that had ground flax in it, and you're supposed to soak it, and that ground flax just absorbed way too much water, made the dough really wet, which made it sticky. So 2 things. One, using a different one that had no ground flax in it, everything was a whole grain. And then using the whole wheat flour. So the grains themselves added less moisture. They drained better, so added less moisture to the bread. And whole wheat flour takes more moisture than bread flour or spelt flour. So I used the water amount as recommended. So it was 325 grams of water, plus you soak the grains in a cup of water and then drain it or strain it. And then you knead those in. The other oops that I had in that, so we have it's a standard size oven that's split in 2. So it's not like the wall mounted, you have a double oven. Those are, I think, a little deeper. It's a standard oven, but it's split in 2. Like my sister has one that you could split hers in 2, but she doesn't ever use that. This one, it's only in 2. And so I cook it on the bottom, and I feel like that smaller oven space cooks hotter just because there's less air in the oven. And I accidentally cooked my loaf for 30 minutes with the lid on. It's only supposed to be 20. And going forward, I'm just leaving the lid on longer because it didn't burn. Previous loaves to me look too dark, look a bit burnt. This one did not. I mean, the whole wheat flour in there just makes it a little bit of a darker loaf, but it did not. So I'll have added pictures, I think, up to this point, showing the finished loaf and then what it looked like cut into. I am super happy with it. And we'll see if I can replicate that. And last but not least, so I talked about going to see Gary Allen. If you like country music, if you know who he is, I absolutely would recommend his shows. It's great music. He's a lot of fun, and still has a really good voice. Even at this show, he had been taking prednisone. And, I saw him spray his throat a few times. I couldn't tell the difference, right? As I said, it's the second time I've seen him. The first time I think was like 3 years ago. So he still sounds great for having hit big in the 90s. So 30 years later. So he still sounds great. Totally would recommend that. And then yesterday, my husband started us on Ted Lasso. I hadn't seen a single episode. I knew nothing about the show. I've heard of Ted Lasso. Of course. There's memes. People talk about it. It was this huge thing. I didn't know that it was based in London. I didn't know it involved a soccer team. No, like, I'll end it there. If anybody else out there hasn't seen it. But 2 episodes in, I'm sunk. All right, that's what I've been working on in the last week and a half. My plan at this point in time is every other Tuesday. Hopefully I'll get these up on Wednesdays. My husband has the video editing software on his computer, so I need to do it when he's at work. Hence Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So if I can get it posted on Wednesdays. And as I make progress in what I'm knitting, what I'm sewing, any updates on my baking or tech editing, then I will include that here. But thank you all for joining me. If you're actually watching the second one, I really appreciate that. And I hope that you have a great rest of your day.